Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, we know that Hillary Clinton likes to script things, script speeches, interviews. She even wears that little earpiece to make sure that everything that she's saying is on target, on cue. You know, Owen, it's really hard to remember lies. It's really easy to remember the truth. And this piece coming out, this leaked memo, it shows that Clinton was given the questions to an interview, a softball interview, as you would say, to borrow your term, from Steve Harvey, this interview that happened in February. And the shocking part of this, reading this, the Free Beacon has published it, it's that she fakes a surprise throughout the interview. Oh boy, oh my goodness, exclaiming at photos, tends to, pretends to be shocked when they talk about Flint water and the crisis there. And she really doesn't do a very good job of faking emotion. It's something that she's had a problem with in the past. Even with her Zach Galifianakis interview, it was so dull and so mundane. The woman couldn't fake emotion to save her life. And we're seeing this again. Does this shock you at all that, of course, even in softball interviews, the woman has to have everything pre-planned?
Well, this doesn't shock me. This probably happens a lot whenever candidates go on these shows. They like to know what they're going to be asked. But more than anything, to me, this illustrates the type of candidate Hillary Clinton is. This is a totally controlled candidate. This is a totally scripted candidate. They can't have anything that they don't already know is going to be out there. They can't say anything. They can't be asked anything that they don't already expect. We see this when she does press conferences, whether she does it on an airplane, whether she does it after an event. They seem to be very controlled, very directed questions that Hillary Clinton is already expecting. I don't know if she's expecting them to be rolled on an orange, maybe an apple, but this is the type of stuff that we see from Hillary. So again, I think that this illustrates it. And then you talked about how she was faking surprise. They went over this script. We already knew that they went over this script. They admitted they went over the script. And then Hillary Clinton acts shocked and surprised when she sees herself as a 12-year-old. Maybe she did forget that picture was coming up. She has had, some mental impairment issues during this campaign cycle. So maybe she genuinely was surprised by this. But this is just, it shows how soft she is. It shows how controlled she is. And I thought Donald Trump was the reality TV candidate. Why does Hillary Clinton get to go on these shows and not be bashed for doing it like Donald Trump is? No surprise there.
That's an excellent point. So, but we all know that reality TV is scripted, and she would be an excellent actor in reality television, although her emotive skills are lacking here. We're talking about an interview that had to do with the Flint water crisis, people that didn't have even drinkable water, couldn't bathe their own kids. So it looks like she would want some more off-the-cuff questions, but her emotions were nonetheless, they seem to always not hit the target. They seem to be off in some cases. And speaking of things that she can't control, she had a press conference in Harrisburg, and she can't control her shaking. Now, this is up on Infowars. Questions regarding why her head is shaking so much. She didn't shake in the Steve Harvey interview, but she's shaking in this conference. And, questions still remaining about her health. She doesn't seem to want to answer anything that people really want to know about. Like, we could care less about the fake bills the woman's trying to pass or the gun control that she's been trying to push down your throats for the past 25 years. But this, we've got to have an all-out push to lie to the American people and say that this is nothing when clearly it's something.
Well, it is strange how they want to kind of avoid the talk of Parkinson's. We saw Michael Savage get dropped off the airwaves when he starts bringing up.
You can't even question it without being fired.
Right. So there's an interesting thing there. And we've seen multiple videos where her head's shaking or she's staring awkwardly at balloons or during interviews she goes into seizures. I mean, for God's sake, she was drugged from the 9/11 memorial like a wet noodle. But, this is a video to me, I'm not really sure if we can get much from it. Her head is kind of shaking a little awkwardly. I think maybe she's just pretending to be engaged with the person who she's talking to. But she is trained. That's one thing we do know. She is trained whenever she goes into these kind of loss of control moments of her head or her body to kind of try to smile or laugh it off or shake her head.
Fake smile, fake understand.
She has been trained on this. Maybe that's what we're seeing in this video. Maybe it's not. But at this point, I mean, really, we need this video? We already know Hillary is in terrible health. There's no question about that to me. Whether this video proves anything or not, you can have that debate. But just more weirdness, really, of Hillary Clinton's actions during this campaign cycle.
Do you think that there's ever going to be a time where there's a correct diagnosis done either by a clinical physician on the air that isn't then threatened, bullied, or fired, in which we could have an accurate diagnosis prior to the, we're 33, 34 days out, and no news on this yet. Meanwhile, we've got these fake interviews with fake answers and fake questions and no real, it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating to you too, but as reporters, you're like, is there ever going to be a day where we actually have something substantive come out of her that's actually true?
You know what? I think that I have an answer for you, actually. I think that the first honest health evaluation we'll get of Hillary Clinton is the day that she is going to jail. The day we put that woman in prison, she's going to have to undergo the physical to get into the prison facility. That's when we're going to get the first honest medical report of Hillary Clinton. When Trump gets in and we send this witch to jail, she won't have any of these fake doctors giving her fake screenings and fake tests and fake test results. We're going to have to know what health you're in when we send you to jail, Hillary.
You know, I mean, there is that. So maybe we'll get a diagnosis when she's forced to. Speaking of things that really irk us here at Infowars, and this has come out, and it's Paul Joseph Watson. He wrote this article. He's actually talking about it today with Alex. Things that could have gotten her in jail. You know, if this had been you or I doing this. This article coming out, Hillary Clinton personally nixed a peace deal in Libya that would have led to free elections for the Libyan people and prevented the country from being seized by ISIS, all because she disliked Gaddafi. She had this personal vendetta against Gaddafi, and according to this new whistleblower, who personally oversaw the negotiations there, he actually indicated that she specifically stood in the way of Gaddafi, having these free elections, of having, an open and free society. She would rather have seen Libya descend into hell and chaos rather than reach across the aisle diplomatically, which was her entire job. As Secretary of State, you're the chief diplomat of this country. You're the foreign policy director, yes, but at the same time, this is your job, and it indicates what type of personality we're dealing with here. Very hostile, aggressive, bitter. She seems to be bitter, but something like this comes out, and you're looking at it, you're like, wait a second. So how many people died? How many people are still dying because of your personality? Things like this is what Steve Harvey should have been asking her about, not her stupid policies on, whose gun she wants to take.
Well, she would have never gone on Steve Harvey if those were the type of questions that they were going to be asking, obviously. But I think you touched on a couple things that are very important here. This is the type of people we're dealing with the Clintons. Bill Clinton bombed nations to distract from the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Mm-hmm. These are people that will take their personal vendettas to an international, government humanitarian level on a very wide-reaching, dangerous,
for money,
violent responses for money, for distractions, for vendettas, whatever it is. These are very psychopathic people. To me, honestly, I think Bill Clinton has run his course, and he's kind of regretting it, and that's why we're seeing some of this cryptic behavior from Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. But another thing you mentioned, I'm not sure if this is really Hillary Clinton who's doing this for Hillary Clinton's benefits. I think Hillary Clinton goes in and takes out Gadaffii because what the one world government, central banks, centralized corporations, energy corporations that run this planet really want is a one world government. And when they see Gadaffii propping up the nation of Libya, propping up its people and wanting to build wealth independently as a nation state
using
in
the
Libya.
Gold standard as opposed to getting off of the spectrum of how we trade, he wanted to specifically implement the gold standard. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're absolutely right.
But this is why Hillary Clinton comes in. This is how Hillary Clinton is essentially a mercenary politician working for the bankers, working for the one world government. So, but maybe she genuinely gets off to this. I mean, she might enjoy it. I mean, she did say, we came, we saw, he died, celebrating the death of Gaddafi.
Bizarre, the cackling, the happiness of taking out Gaddafi and then subsequently sacrificing 4 Americans because of it. I firmly believe that if the woman had just, had halfway done her job, these 4 people would still be living and breathing, walking around today, but perhaps they were traded in some sick way. Who knows?
Well, you wonder if she even wanted them alive, honestly.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Going back to Gaddafi for a second, we know that Wesley Clark, former presidential candidate in 2007, he said, look, and this was prior to Clinton ever assuming, her leadership position with the State Department, but he said, we've got this list of countries that we want to bump off, we want to control, we want to topple. Iraq was on it, Syria was on it, Libya was on it. It finishes off with Iran, by the way. Somalia's also on it. So they're just going down the list now and checking it off.
And these are the countries that do not have central banks. They want to bring in the central bank. That's what it is, Margaret. That's what it's all about.
There's always a bottom line, isn't there? Well, thank you so much for joining us. For more reports like this, be sure and check us out at Infowars.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday is the biggest presidential debate in United States history, and Infowars.com/show will have complete coverage for you, starting at 4 o'clock Central with the Alex Jones Show, and then rolling right through the entire debate, even afterwards taking your phone calls. Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, round 2 from St. Louis, Missouri, Washington University. This is the most anticipated debate ever, and we're going to have complete coverage for you at Infowars.com/show, and also the new Infowars Live app. We're going to have boots on the ground, and we're going to have the entire Infowars crew in studio covering the debate, breaking down the things that the two candidates say in live time. Are you going to be stuck at home watching football, or are you going to be engaged in the Infowar? Infowars.com/show, Infowars Live app, complete coverage of the presidential debate, round 2, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.